Sometimes your blessing will be right in front of your eyes, and you don't even know. You don't even know what God's got for you. Amazingly beautiful woman, amazingly brilliant woman. Last year, she graduated with her doctorate degree, and I saw her walk across that stage and get her doctorate degree, and the Lord said, "You big dummy, what are you waiting on?" I am so grateful. I am so grateful to God that she has consented to be my wife. Would you help me? Thank God for Dr. Carrie Turner. Come on. I can't tell you how happy I am, how happy my family is, how happy my children are, and I hope my church is happy for me.
Hey family, Willie Moore Jr. here, and welcome to another edition of the Love You More Show. Now listen, if this is your first time watching the show, I want to encourage you to click that little notification bell so you can be updated whenever a new show comes out. And of course, I want to give you the opportunity to subscribe to this channel, because at the end of the day, if you're not subscribed, you might not know. Don't be a creep and just been looking for a long time and didn't hit that subscribe button. I know I can trust you to do that. Family, you know, the Bible says that we are to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And the truth is, there's so many neighborhoods and people who are not being impacted with love, mainly because we don't love ourselves the way we should. If you can be honest, there's so many different things that you get lost in, whether it's social media, your children, your husband, your wife, your career. If you're in the ATL, DC, LA, traffic, come on, you lose yourself there too. But the truth is, it's time for you to be found again. Because I believe the best version of you is the best version that God requires. And it takes you loving yourself more. And that's what this platform is all about. Today, I get the esteemed privilege to hang out with a gentleman who literally loves himself. And the reason why I know that is because he's helping neighborhoods all across the country. He's helping seniors all across the country. And I'll tell you what, he's helping people like me watch him navigate from a distance with all of the ups and downs, and doing it gracefully. And so here's the thing. I'm excited right now that I get an opportunity to hang out with your pastor's favorite pastor. Jamal Bryant's hanging out with me now. What changes would you make next? Or is that something you desire?
Oh, no, absolutely. It ain't good for you to be alone. There's a difference and there is a handicap. I am 70% of who I'm supposed to be single.
Jeez.
70%.
And you doing it like this?
I'm telling you, I'm at 70%.
Well,
listen to me. I am operating as a runway model for grace. The Bible says you don't get favor till you have a wife. So I am not operating under the favor of God. I'm operating under the grace of God. With the favor of God, I'd have to be at 2 services at New Birth right now. Under grace, I'm feeling it.
Jeez.
You understand?
So talk to me a little bit about that. Because it says, he who finds a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor from the Lord.
Yes.
I'm under the thought process of you're going to have favor from the Lord because you're not going to be solely focused on God.
Yes.
You're going to be focused on your mate. So favor has to propel you into your destiny.
Yes, but the favor's coming from her. It ain't coming from you. That's why it's important. The most critical decision after getting saved is who you marry. And you will go as far or not as far based off of who you are connected to. Mm-hmm. The reality is nobody's going to say it. Let's argue. Let's kick the table aside. Would Jay-Z be making this much money if he weren't married to Beyonce?
Hey, listen here.
Y'all don't want to fight.
Hey, we don't want to fight.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, the continuity matters. Mm-hmm. It matters of who it is that you connect and are you in divine partnership for where you want to go.
Mm.
Yeah, and a lot of preachers make the wrong mistake because they marry based off of where they are and not where they're going.
Yeah.
And then once they get there, they realize this wasn't it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you now know that you operating at 70%, do you
Yes.
posture your heart and prepare for it? Like, because on this level,
yes,
it's got to be tough to date. It's got to be tough.
I owe it to God and I owe it to my children
Yeah.
for them to see me in a healthy relationship because I have failed in front of them. So I have to model in front of them. And modeling it in front of them is not telling them, it's demonstrating it. And so I am intentional how it is that I treat my ex-wife, but I also want them to see what they should expect when it's time for them to get married, because I don't want them to adjust to dysfunction.
How did you forgive her?
Forgive
after,
who?
Your ex-wife when she went on to a public stage.
Yeah.
I mean, fully aware of who you are in the earth.
Yeah, you have to have in context. I forgive her for exposing what I did to her.
Mm-hmm.
That's the arrogance of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she'd have no story if I didn't give her the storyline. And so I'm accountable.
I heard him.
I'm accountable for giving the story.
Mm-hmm.
I should have never given the cocked weapon to her. But you know, the enemy had a round of applause, thinking that you can use an area of somebody's brokenness. Tell all of that. Caesar Clark, one of my favorite preachers, he's since passed. He's out of Dallas, Texas. I'll tell you the story. He went through a divorce years ago in the 80s.
Wasn't online.
No, wasn't online.
Yeah.
And he goes to court, Willie, and they're in the final proceedings of the divorce. And the judge says to Dr. Clark, your ex-wife wants your vacation house in Florida. Do you want her to have it? Dr. Clark said, yeah, let her have it. So Dr. Clark, your wife wants the Mercedes. Do you want her to have it? So yeah, let her have it. Dr. Clark, your wife wants your pension because you used to be in the military. Do you want her to have it? Dr. Clark said, yeah, I want her to have it. The judge says, wait a minute, Dr. Clark, you ain't got to give her all of this. You can fight for some of this. I'm just telling you what you want. You ain't got to give it to her. Dr. Clark said, do you notice what she didn't ask me for? The judge says, no, what didn't she ask you for? She didn't ask for my Bible. If you leave me with my Bible, I can get all of that again. Whew. You got to have the mind frame. I ain't fighting over no material stuff if I'm claiming he's Jehovah Jireh. Whatever it is that somebody can take, God can give it back to you. And so I'm at that level of peace that nobody can take anything away from me if God wants me to have it.
KD, what manner of man is this?
I know, I'm telling you. Wait. I'm talking to you through bloody bandages, sir.
I feel it.
Yes.
So, listen, subscribe to this channel real quick. I'm sorry, all my cool done went off. This little suit ain't fitting like it's supposed to again. I feel like I just puffed up. But look here, I got to ask you this. What type of studying does Jamal Bryant do? What does a regular week look like? Because I've stood on stages with you, and you tell me I go do my little orphanage story, had the whole room crying, and then you got to come up there and lift them back up.
Yes.
Yeah, Willie did the little orphanage story. Everybody was crying. I had to bring them back in. But what type of studying are you doing? Like, is there a process for Jamal Bryant?
Me. I read a book a week. My home pastor, shout out to Bishop Frank Madison Reed III, put me on a regimen when I was 19.
Okay.
That the first week of the month, I read a biography. To read somebody's failures and success. Second week of the month, I read a book on theology. Third book of the month, I read something about Black culture. Fourth week of the month, I read a novel or a fiction book, just so that I'm well-rounded.
So is this audio or is this like book?
Oh no, I'm reading with
speed
a pen.
read.
No, I'm reading it and studying it. Sunday mornings, my pastor, every Sunday, I had to meet in his office at 7:30. And give him an oral book report on what I read. The catch, Willie, is he only gave me books he had already read. So he was testing me to make sure I wasn't just speed reading it. And so I am a student of life. So whether I'm speaking at a college or speaking at a church or speaking at a community association, I'm equipped for it. Will Smith said, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So wherever it is that I am, I'm prepared to do it.
So how do you have a ready-made schedule? So what I'm noticing in my singleness is that I am now at peace with where I am. Don't get me wrong, grief comes in waves. I have these moments, but I'm really at peace with my systems, my regiments, and all that. How does one not get so caught up in his own system that he doesn't have room to invite someone else in?
Yeah, you're not at peace. You're comfortable, but you are not at peace. By virtue of the fact of going to pick up your kids, you are not at peace. You call and say, can you put them on the phone? You ain't on no peace. You are adjusting to a new way of life and have embraced it. But the warfare is a little simmered down because you ain't at odds. But being at odds ain't being at peace. Yeah, no, those are two different things.
Damn,
so
you right about
that.
Remember I told you I broke down and went backwards?
Yeah.
Because grief come in waves.
Yes. Yeah.
I guess I ain't in peace.
Divorce is divorce is a different grief than a funeral, because in divorce, the body is still walking around. At a funeral, I know where the cemetery is. I ain't drive by there. But you got to walk by a living corpse. And so that's a different level of grief that you at a funeral wearing lime green. Yeah. We know the uniform if there's an actual death. And so in going through that process, you relive the funeral every other weekend. Yeah. With no pallbearers of, who can carry you. And so I've been divorced 10 years. And it still resonates with me that I'm making a call on Mother's Day. I mean? I got to ask somebody else, what is the plan for my kids for spring break?
Yeah, I just did that.
Yeah, well, here we are. A couple of silver spoons. So no, it's an ongoing process that you're going to have to navigate for a long time.
Yeah. So you have 3 girls.
Yes.
And, one set of twins. Now they're in college, navigating, graduating and all that. How hard was it with girls? Because I have a little baby girl who loves you. Every time she see him, I'd be like, nah, he trying to, she don't care if he preaching, teaching or whatever. Was it hard for you to even consider that another man may be in the house?
Yes. What you mean?
And like how you navigate, because them girls,
Listen, no, so I have 3 girls, which is I have 5 girls.
Yeah. Oh, you have 5 girls?
Yeah. So I can't tell my ex-wife don't date, and I'm dating. You know what I'm saying? So we came to agreement that we only introduce people to our children when it's serious. Yeah, if it ain't going nowhere, don't even get them involved. But I can't project my pseudo values onto my ex-wife when I didn't hold a standard of morality. That's behold the false prophet. And so again, it's more important that I'm modeling it than I'm trying to lay down the law. Hey, I know I cheated, but don't be with nobody. Ain't nobody gonna take you seriously. And so that's why it's important on your side to make sure that you are practicing what you preach. And I'll say this to you, Willie, 78% of grown preachers' kids don't go to church.
Really?
Yes.
78%.
78% do not go to church. Hear this, because they were always felt to be raised as the mistress. That the church came ahead of them. So they resent the church. You can't have a conversation about church hurt till you talk to preachers' kids. Hey, if you talk to preachers' kids, you don't have the benefit of pastoring. You just running around, preaching wherever. You don't have no little old lady. Where your mom at today? She look cute. You understand? You don't have that to deal with. So imagine navigating that space with your kids, and on the way home from church, you having to have a debrief. Stuff you can't even entertain. Did anybody say anything to y'all today?
Wow.
Are y'all okay? Sitting on the front row for the first time without mama? Yeah. Your daughter's how old?
5.
5. So you don't even understand putting in place for a 5-year-old to be the first lady. So at 5, they looking at what dress she got on. Whether she yawning on the front row.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, no, that's a whole lot of different kind of pressure that you gotta try to maximize.
So if 78% of those children don't go to church anymore, what building blocks did your father and mother who pastored?
Yes.
How did you become a part of that 22% that decided?
Because they made sure I loved God more than I loved church.
Okay.
Yeah. So we didn't do church for public appearances. Yeah. So we had to have our own devotional life, our own prayer life. They didn't force us to be a part of auxiliary because y'all in the first family.
Right.
So my sister and I,
She's so smart.
Oh, listen, she's 2 years younger than me. And my sister, Dr. Tamar Bryant, shout out to her, is the outgoing president of the American Psychological Association. And so when I went through my divorce, I hate talking to my sister. Don't walk me through this journey.
Because she's mentally.
Yeah, I already got a therapist. I don't need 2 of y'all. Just check on your brother.
I just wanted to say hello.
Yeah, don't put me on the brown leather couch.
Exactly.
No. Yeah, but no, she's helped me in immeasurable ways.
So as you look towards the future, I had the esteemed privilege of hosting an event for the end of the year at your church, and you had ministers, and the way your brain thinks.
Yes.
It was the body of Christ.
Yes.
Ministers of this, ministers of that. How do you take these ideologies from heaven, bring them on earth, and lead in such a way that most people don't lead? That may be arrogant to say, but I had never seen the departments named the way they were named.
Yeah, because I am a visionary. I'm a creative. I'm not an administrator. So I had to hire my deficits. So I know what I want that painted wall to look like. I don't have the temperament to order paint.
At all.
I don't want to know what color blue it is.
Y'all
just get it up there. So I had to pull people in position whose asset could cover my liability. The reality is Dr. King did not organize the March on Washington. He just spoke at it. He had to have.
I just felt the whole room say.
Yeah. You had to have somebody who got a mind for where the buses are going to park, where the spider park going to be, where can 200,000 Negroes eat in Washington, D.C.?
Right.
You got to have people who have that mind frame. And I've got an incredible staff who can think beyond my dream.
Yeah.
Because all I got is the dream. But I needed a dream team to help it work.
So with all of the building blocks that you've had now, we going into real estate.
Yes.
Down here in Atlanta, many homes for millennials, senior housing. I've even seen healthcare facilities. Talk a little bit about that and how important it is for the community. I
came to, and a shout out to you, you were one of the first people to welcome me to Atlanta.
Yes, sir.
When I came now 5 years ago. So, I don't have any background in development. None. Yeah. I came here, and 3 days after I accepted as pastor, did they tell me I got $32 million worth of debt.
The second day?
Yeah. After I get here.
You didn't know that until you got here?
No. After I get here.
By the way, let me just show you the books.
They telling us that we are 4 months from foreclosure. After I get here, they tell me the county looking at turning our church into the convention center.
After you get here?
Yes. We are the largest land-owning Black church in America with a sanctuary and a gym.
That's true.
So I am sitting on the answer to the problem. Yeah, I never dreamed about houses. I never dreamed about clinics.
Yeah.
But I was forced into a place where God made me dream out loud. So we are in a couple of weeks breaking ground on 150 mini homes.
Jeez.
It'll be the first in DeKalb County that I want to sell primarily to millennials who are the last generation to become homeowners. Atlanta, for those of you watching around the world, Atlanta's the only place in America where there's a waiting list for apartments.
Facts.
It's the only place in the world outside of New York, LA, and San Francisco where rent prices is the same as a mortgage.
Or more.
And so I wanted to change that narrative because there is such a responsibility on mega churches that are having a minor impact. So people go to mega churches, people are looking for you to do more. And so I wanted to step into that vacuum and do something of greater significance.
Bishop Eddie Long, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
A world-class futurist. Our church is 24 years old, and it looks like it was built last year.
True.
For him, I didn't understand his genius until I became his successor. The greatest regret of my pastorate is in 5 years, I've never been able to get him on the phone. It is the power of what you talk about, the power of a mentor. I had absolutely nobody in New Birth's phone number when I became the pastor. And so I miss that connection. He could have told me who to look out for, who not to fool with.
Yeah.
The reality is nobody's going to say it. I'll say it. Bishop Long had the biggest black church. Bishop Jakes had the biggest name. But we had the biggest ministry. You got to realize in Bishop Long's prime, we were doing 3 services a weekend. Like, you understand? Yeah. And so what it is that he was able to pioneer to do, Bishop Long had more men than the Nation of Islam.
Thanks.
So he was really transforming a culture. Atlanta was synonymous with Bishop Long.
Yeah.
And so I just marvel at his genius, at his brains, at his oil, and how it is that he was able to navigate.
So when you think about Baltimore, how are you still connected to that city?
Yeah. My parents live in Baltimore still. I'm from Baltimore. Just recently, I raised an offering to help pay for the funeral of all of the people who died on the bridge on last week. That's home. So I'm Dorothy. I'm clicking my heels 3 times. It ain't no place like it. And so I love Baltimore, but I'm so glad to be in Atlanta.
Yeah. And so here's the thing.
Yes.
That had to be faith.
Yes.
Like, because you built a huge ministry.
Yeah.
And many people from Baltimore, some people, you know, you brought in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's right to say this, but it's like you never forget.
Yeah.
You like what you're doing for Jonathan and, you know, bringing people in that were true to you. Like just speak to that loyalty that you have for longevity. Like I think you a clone because I don't know how you in 45 different places at one time. You over here, then you over there. Like talk a little bit about that loyalty and showing up for people.
You from St. Louis, I'm from Baltimore.
You already know
ain't that different.
Yeah.
Loyalty is very dangerous because you can't confuse loyalty with competency. I didn't bring anybody from my staff from Baltimore here. Jonathan had already left me 4 years ago and was in Fort Lauderdale with Fernandez. He called me 3 months after being here saying, the Lord is talking to me, I'm supposed to come help you. But I didn't bring anybody from Baltimore because I felt like I needed a complete fresh start. And one of the mistakes we make from the hood is we try to drag everybody with us who is afraid of heights. And because they're afraid of heights, they're going to try to keep us down. And so we keep the slogan, keeping it real is keeping it in the past. That's not what keeping it real is. We're supposed to always be evolving, always be growing. So I have a heart for Baltimore, but I'm clear that my staff in Baltimore was not equipped for what I wanted to do at New Birth.
When did this version appear? Like, this version is different than all of the other versions I've seen years prior.
Yeah.
It's like I think you always loved Jamal.
Yeah.
But I think it's evolved into I love all sides of Jamal.
Yeah.
This level of freedom that you walking in now is just completely different.
Yeah.
What changed?
When I knew what parts of Jamal to hate. Because I started to love my brokenness. I started to love my handicap. I became spoiled by grace. say, oh, I got away with it. Let me do it again. And so I did deal with Paul. He says, I'm going to leave that thorn in you. I love you, but I ain't taking it away. So once you hit that 50 mark and say, man, this is that legacy. It's one thing to be a young fool. It's another one to be an old one. And so when these grays start popping up, like, oh man, it ain't enough Beijing in the world. I got to do something else in order to function. So now I'm looking at how do I establish and build a legacy that will outlive me.
Jeez. Pastor Jamal Bryant, ladies and gentlemen. I wish it was a studio audience in here. Put the fake claps in there. Family, listen, I know that you were blessed because I know I was blessed. But here's the thing. I think it's so important just as a team, and I call you a part of my team. I love you more team. I love you guys so much. But I think it's so important that what you saw and what you heard today, depending on how you listen to this, I hope you heard freedom. You know, I was hanging out on Easter and I was talking to my children just about the resurrection and the cross. And I began to talk to them a little bit about the parts that wasn't omitted. I asked my children, I was like, babe, what parts of this process was omitted? And Paisley said, Daddy, what's omitted? And I said, oh, my bad. Dang it. Cause you know, she gonna ask, she ain't gonna play cool. I said, what parts were taken out? Like, do you think it was some parts taken out? I was like, no, they really beat him and they really did this. I said, well, do you think that the cross and the resurrection would be so great if they just said, yep, he had, you know, he was hated and then he went on the cross and then he came back. Did that sound like a good story? And they were like, no, it doesn't sound as good as like him being beat and hurt. I was like, yeah, but when he was going through it, I know that was really, really hard, right? And they was like, right. I was like, yeah. But it made a good story, not for him all the way, but for you. Mm-hmm. And so maybe you're going through something that's so embarrassing and it hurts you really, really bad. But I would just suggest possibly if you can maybe get out of yourself for a moment and ask God, how do you want to use this for your glory? Because ultimately he's using you to be such a blessing to other people, if and only if you're brave and courageous enough that once you get out of this thing, that you would go tell somebody about it. So you too could set the captives free. I just want to challenge you today because I know it's tough. Like I feel it in my heart that this moment is tough. Whatever it is financially, that doctor, whatever he said, that relationship, whatever that thing is, I know it is tough and it is embarrassing and it is sometimes really, really hard. But some people say life be life, and I just believe that God be God too. And so my challenge to you today is that you can just dig within and say, God, I know that you are going to use this for your glory. It will not always be like this. Like I can remember sitting there thinking that, Lord, this cannot be it. And now that I stand on this other side, I know that I could never be this if it wasn't for that. And I start to thank God for that because I sure enough love this. Come on, somebody. I can't wait till you get to your this. All right. Family, listen, I want to encourage you right now to subscribe to this channel, send this to about 10 people. And I also want to encourage you to be a part of our Patreon community where you'll get an opportunity to ask our awesome guests questions. And of course, I'll be bouncing ideas off of you. And shout out to all of my Patreon community. It's a few of us and we're starting to talk a lot more. So I'm excited about it. But the more, the merrier. You are welcome. Okay. Make sure that you share this with as many people as possible. And please don't forget to love you more. Flat out.